Hello and welcome back to Learning English Pro. I'm Ger, your online tutor and guide. I'm thrilled to present to you the complete Business English Masterclass. This comprehensive video is designed to help you master essential English vocabulary and phrases used in the business and finance sectors. In this masterclass, I've divided the lessons into two main categories: Business English vocabulary and Finance vocabulary. Each section is tailored to provide you with the specific vocabulary and phrases needed for various professional contexts. In the first part of our masterclass, you will learn lots of business English vocabulary, phrases, profession types, and idioms, essential for fluent communication in lots of business contexts. We will then move on to my series on crime vocabulary, great for those working in businesses that have dealings with the law and legal contexts. After this, you will explore different industries, federal holidays, and cover modern vocabulary with AI terminology and home office guides. In the finance vocabulary section, you'll master basic and advanced money vocabulary, understand essential banking terms, and learn about credit cards and types of insurance. Additionally, you'll gain English vocabulary for lots of business contexts like renting properties, economics, real estate, and buying a car. In the video description, I will provide timestamps for all the lessons listed in this video, allowing you to skip ahead to the sections that interest you the most. So if you're ready, let's dive in and take your English vocabulary skills to the next level with our first lesson on Business English vocabulary. Welcome back to Learning English Pro. This week we are covering some essential business English. This video is perfect for anyone working in business who wants to advance their understanding of everyday English used in the work environment. Business English leaves behind slang and casual words for a more precise and some might say sophisticated way to speak. In this lesson, you will learn 10 essential terms, which will include adjectives, nouns, verbs, phrases, and lots of examples and definitions. Don't forget to check out the extensive word list in the description. Okay, if you're ready, sit back, relax, and let's learn some business English together. Let's get started with our first word, which is commercial. Now, commercial is an adjective and a noun, but we're going to take a look at the adjective definition first. As an adjective, commercial describes things concerned with or engaged in commerce, or things that make or are intended to make a profit. Our first example sentence is, they have a commercial agreement. They have a commercial agreement. With this adjective, it is common to see the terms commercial products or commercial property. Let's move on and take a look at the noun definition of commercial, and it means a television or radio advertisement. And our example sentence is, I saw the car on a TV commercial. I saw the car on a TV commercial. Our next business term is public relations. And this is a practice of understanding the purpose of an organization and its relationship within society. We can also say it is the planned and sustained activity of engagement between these two parties to influence behavioral change and build mutual understanding and trust. Public relations is often abbreviated to PR. This is quite a common term to use. We could say Rachel works in the public relations department, or we could say Rachel works in the PR department. PR is a well-known abbreviation in English. The public relations for the company has been a disaster. The public relations for the company has been a disaster. The company has very good PR. The company has very good PR. Our next term is headquarters, and this common noun means the premises serving as the managerial and administrative centre of an organisation. And just like public relations, this word can be abbreviated to HQ. Let's take a look at some synonyms we can use for headquarters. Head office and main office are probably the two most common synonyms used. Base, mission control, and nerve center are good too, but they are a little bit more military with their association. Let's take a look at our example sentence. Their headquarters are located in Paris. Their headquarters are located in Paris. Okay, it's time to move on to our next word, which is agenda. This common noun has a few different meanings, so let's run through them. Our first definition of agenda is a list of items to be discussed at a formal meeting, so it can be an actual physical list. We could say, we have many things on the agenda for today's meeting. Our next definition of agenda is a plan of things to be done or problems to be addressed, so it's more like a general plan for the short to medium term future. Our agenda for the next few months is to hire some new people. And our final definition of agenda is the underlying intentions or motives of a particular person or group. And our final sentence example is, his agenda for the company seems to be very reasonable. So with this definition, it's more like a personal plan that someone has for something. If you have an agenda, you will need a strategy. A strategy is a plan of action designed to achieve a long-term or overall aim. Our sentence example is, the company's strategy is to reduce their prices. The company's strategy is to reduce their prices. The verb form of this word is to strategize, meaning to devise a plan or strategy. We could say, the PR department strategized the new media campaign. The PR department strategized the new media campaign. Our next word is the common noun penalty. The definition of penalty is a punishment imposed for breaking a law, rule, or contract. The company received a penalty from the tax office. The company received a penalty from the tax office. Synonyms which are often used instead of penalty are punishment, sanction, or fine. Related to this word, we also have the past participle penalized, and this means to be subject to a penalty or punishment. We have been penalized by the government. One more time. We have been penalized by the government. If you're enjoying this video, you should check out the other videos on my channel relating to business English, money and banking. The links for those are on screen right now. Our next business English term is the common noun dress code. This is a set of rules about what clothing may and may not be worn in a given setting, like the workplace or school. Some of the more common dress codes include formal wear, which includes business attire and suits. A dress code which is becoming more popular in the modern workplace is smart casual. This is where you mix smart wear like shirts with casual wear like jeans. And some workplaces will even have a casual dress code. This means that you can wear pretty much anything that you like. But there are lots of different settings and lots of different types of dress codes. From medical settings to school, religion, construction, and much, much more. Moving on, our next business English term is the common noun market research. This describes the action or activity of gathering information about consumers' needs and preferences. Our market research has shown that most of our customers are over 20 years of age. Our market research has shown that most of our customers are over 20 years of age. We are conducting market research to understand our customers better. We are conducting market research to understand our customers better. Let's move on, and our next word is a regular verb, authorize. The definition is to give official permission for or approval to an undertaking. We could say, I will authorize the release of the report. I will authorize the release of the report. Or we could say, Joanne authorized the payment last week. Joanne authorized the payment last week. Related to this word, we also have the common noun authorization. This involves the process of giving someone permission to do or have something. We received the authorization last week. We received the authorization last week. You may know our next word, branch, as relating to trees, but we also have a business English definition. Our definition is a branch or office of a large business or organisation operating locally or having a particular function. So think of a bank having its headquarters in London and then having lots of different branches around the world. Our sentence example is, the company director will visit our branch in Dublin next week. The company director will visit our branch in Dublin next week. Or we could say, do you have a branch in Madrid? Do you have a branch in Madrid? In business English, we also have the phrase to branch out. And this means to extend or expand one's activities or interests in a new direction. Our sentence example is, we intend to branch out and expand our range of products. We intend to branch out and extend our range of products. If this is your first time visiting my channel, Learning English Pro, you're very welcome to my channel. My name is Ger. I'm narrating your lesson today. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for lots more fantastic English learning content. In today's lesson, we're going to be covering some essential vocabulary for business English. If you've seen any of my lessons before, you should know I go very in-depth on my vocabulary. So by the end of this video, I'm really confident you will know these words really, really well. You're very welcome to your new English vocabulary channel, Learning English Pro. My name is Ger. I'll be narrating your lesson today. Let's take a look at our lesson plan for this video. And of course, as usual, you'll be learning lots of key vocabulary on our subject, Business English. And don't worry, you will learn lots of definitions and context in relation to these new words. Plus, I will be giving you lots of sentence examples, so you can put your new vocabulary to work straight away. Okay, it's time to get started, so grab a pen and paper, sit back, relax, and let's learn some vocabulary together. Our first word is trademark. Repeat after me. Trademark. As a common noun, a trademark refers to an officially registered name, symbol, or logo used to represent a product or a firm. Trademark can also be used as a regular verb, and this simply means to mark something or register something as a trademark. And I'm sure you've seen this symbol before, TM. This is the symbol of a trademark. So if this symbol is beside a product name or a company name, you can be sure that it is trademarked and protected by law. Are you ready for your first sentence example? We have trademarks on 5 of our product names and services. Our next essential business English word is organize. Repeat after me. Organize. And this verb means to arrange something systematically, or make arrangements or preparations for an event or an activity. Let's take a look at our example sentence. I organized the training for the new employees. There is a slight difference in the spelling between British and American English for this word organize. It's pronounced the same, but organize in American English has a Z, and in British English they have an S instead. Let's take a look at another example sentence, but this time in the future tense. I will organize the meetings with each manager for you. It's time to move on to our next word. Brand. Repeat after me. Brand. Brand is the term given to a company's name and the recognizable attributes that go with that company. It's about anything which defines its unique identity. You could say McDonald's is a very recognizable brand. Or how about Coca-Cola is an international brand. Another example sentence we could say is, the company's brand is directed towards young professional people. Our next word is a regular verb, expand. Repeat after me. Expand. It means to become or make something larger or more extensive. Our example sentence is, their company will expand its clothing range next year. Let's take a look at another example sentence. Plans for the new development have expanded by 50%. And in this sentence, we are using the past participle form of this verb. Our fifth word is clause. Repeat after me. Clause. And this word means a particular condition or stipulation in a treaty, bill, or contract. Our sentence example is, the contract included a clause which protects the employee's wages. Okay, how about another sentence example? The company added a new clause to the contract, which is very unfair. Up next, we have an English phrase, null and void. Repeat after me. Null and void. If an agreement, a declaration, or contract is null and void, it is not legally valid and is essentially cancelled. Let's break down these two adjectives so you can understand them a bit better. Repeat after me. Null. Null means that something that is invalid or associated with the value of 0, or something lacking distinctive qualities. The other adjective was void. Repeat after me. Void. And this means something that is not legally binding or something that is completely empty. So null and void is quite a negative phrase. Our example sentence is, the contract will be null and void if our client does not receive payment tomorrow. Our next business English word is competitor. Repeat after me. Competitor. A competitor is an organization or country engaged in commercial or economic competition with others. Let's take a look at our example sentence. Coca-Cola is a competitor of Pepsi-Cola. The local restaurant has a new competitor. Up next, we have a common noun, which is invoice. Repeat after me. Invoice. The definition of invoice is a list of goods sent or services provided with a statement of the sum due for these. It's like a bill or a receipt, really. Our sentence example is, we have received an invoice from our printing suppliers. You can also use this word as a verb. We will invoice you for the flower delivery from last week. Can you believe we're almost at the end of our lesson? Our ninth word is counter-offer. Repeat after me. Counter-offer. And this noun means an offer made in response to another. Let's take a look at our example sentence. We have received a counteroffer from Sean on the property in Paris. Our final word for our lesson is consensus. Repeat after me. Consensus. The noun consensus refers to an idea or opinion that's been agreed on by everyone. Jamie and Owen were able to reach a consensus on the deal. Our final sentence example is, there was a growing consensus that Mary should be the new manager. That's great, everybody. That brings us to the end of our lesson. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. Well, here at Learning English Pro, we have a fantastic video for you. 10 business English words you need to know. In this video, you will first see the word and its definition, followed by its pronunciation. And then you will hear some conversation examples. Please note we're just covering the business definitions of these words today. Are you ready to begin? Our first word is the noun startup. This term is used to describe a brand new business, typically in its first few months or years of trading. Startup. Startup. Our conversation example is, Antonia is working for a new startup in the web design industry. Our next word is forecast. A business forecast predicts various aspects of a business's future movement based on its current situation, external factors, new products, and plans for marketing. Forecast. Repeat after me. Forecast. And in our conversation example, we have, the company's forecast for profits for the coming year is very favorable. Our next word is the noun headquarters. The definition is the premises serving as the managerial and administrative center of an organization. Headquarters. Repeat after me. Headquarters. Our example in conversation is, the new headquarters will centralize the company's operations. For our next term, we have something different, an acronym, USP. A USP is the unique selling proposition of a company, product or service, or what makes it different from similar offerings. USP. USP. The USP of the food company is that all its food is organic and locally grown. For our next and fifth term, we have the noun cold call. The definition is an unsolicited visit or telephone call made by someone trying to sell goods or services. Now repeat after me. Cold call. Cold call. Our conversation example is, the sales team makes cold calls to potential clients and tries to sell our products. Our sixth word is the noun recruitment. Recruitment is the process of hiring new employees. Recruitment. Repeat after me. Recruitment. Our example in conversation is, our firm specializes in the recruitment of nurses for private hospitals. Our seventh word is a noun. Brand. Brand is the term given to a company's distinctive name and the recognizable characteristics that go with that company to define its unique identity. Brand. Brand. And our example in conversation is, the brands of some designers are easily identifiable. For our eighth term, we have the phrase best practice. This phrase describes a generally acknowledged best way of doing things in order to achieve optimum results. Here is your pronunciation. Best practice. Repeat after me. Best practice. In conversation, we could say, Chris is an expert in best practice when it comes to health and safety. For our penultimate business term, we have the adjective scalable. If something is scalable, it means that it's an idea that will work easily on a larger scale to the one it currently works on. Scalable. Repeat after me. Scalable. For our conversation example, we have Charlie's idea was great for the company as it was scalable and offered room to grow in the future. Our final term for today's video is the noun minutes. Now, in relation to business, it's not related to time. It's actually related to a summarized record of the proceedings at a meeting. Minutes. Repeat after me. Minutes. And here is our final conversation example. Donald took the minutes for the meeting with the senior executives. Hey guys, do you want to learn business English? It can be a really tricky subject, knowing what words to use in what occasions. But don't worry, we have 10 business English words you need to know from us here at Learning English Pro. In this video, you will first hear the word with its definition, then practice pronunciation with us before looking at a conversation example. Please note all definitions are business related. Our first example is a noun, commercial. The definition is a television or radio advertisement. Commercial. Commercial. And our example in conversation is, the company will run their weight loss commercial on television from tomorrow. Our next business term is a noun, public relations. The professional maintenance of a favorable public image by a company or other organization or a famous person, and is often abbreviated to PR. Public relations. Public relations. And our conversation example is, the new public relations team have created a very good image for the brand. Our next word is another noun, headquarters. And the definition is, the premises serving as the managerial and administrative center of an organization. Repeat after me. Headquarters. Headquarters. And for our conversation example, we have, the new headquarters will centralize the company's operations. Our next business word is agenda. This noun refers to a list of things to be discussed or done at a meeting, conference, or any type of business event. Agenda. Repeat after me. Agenda. And our example in conversation is, they had a lot of topics to discuss on the agenda for the meeting. Our fifth word for this episode is strategy, and this relates to a plan of action designed to achieve a long-term or overall aim. Strategy. Repeat after me. Strategy. And our example in conversation is, Ling and Amanda discussed their strategy before they went to the meeting. Coming up next, we have the noun penalty. This refers to an official punishment, usually through a fine or other payment for breaking a contract. Repeat after me. Penalty. Penalty. Our example in conversation is, our team is very stressed due to the recent penalty the company received. Coming up next, we have a phrase, dress code. The phrase dress code refers to a set of company rules about what clothing may or may not be worn at work. Dress code. Repeat after me. Dress code. Our example is, the dress code for the office is smart casual. We have another phrase, market research. This refers to the research you do to collect information about what your customers need or prefer in a certain product or service. Market research. Repeat after me. Market research. Philomena conducts market research with clients every few weeks. For our 9th term, we are back to nouns with authorization. This word comes from the verb to authorize, which means to give someone the legal or official approval to do something. Authorization refers to the approval itself. Authorization. Authorization. Our example in conversation is, Carla got the authorization she needed for her business plan. And for our last business English term, we have the noun branch. The definition is a local office or shop of a company. Repeat after me. Branch. Branch. And our final conversation example is, we have opened a new branch of our bank with amazing facilities for our customers. That brings us... Hello, you are very welcome to the 6th part in our Common English Idiom series. This episode will focus on business idioms. Our first idiom is back to square one. And this means to start something over again because of a previous attempt failed. And our conversation example is, our first attempt failed, so we are back to square one. Our next idiom is the big picture, and this means everything that is involved with a particular situation. Our example in conversation is, if we are going to succeed, we need to look at the big picture. Next up we have rock the boat. This means to do or say something that will upset people or cause problems. And our example in conversation is, when Peter tells Maria about the loss of profits, it will definitely rock the boat. So next up we have the elephant in the room. This means an obvious problem or controversial issue that no one wants to discuss. Our example in conversation is, the office was uncomfortable today because nobody wanted to talk about the elephant in the room. Next up we have something that sounds painful, to twist someone's arm. This means to convince someone to do something that he or she does not want to do. Our example in conversation is, I'm going to have to twist Mary's arm because I need her to work at the weekend. Our next idiom is to take the bull by the horns, and this means to directly confront a difficult situation in a brave and determined way. Our example is, we will have to tackle this difficult situation and take the bull by the horns. Our final idiom for this episode is red tape. And this relates to official rules and processes that seem excessive and unnecessary. And our final example is, we wanted to expand the business into the property market, but there was too much red tape involved. Hi, welcome to this vocabulary lesson on professions by LearningEnglishPRO.com. Let's begin. Architect. Architect. Receptionist. receptionist, businesswoman, businesswoman, secretary, secretary, businessman, businessman, office manager, office manager, CEO, CEO, customer service agent, customer service agent, programmer, programmer, banker, banker, stock trader, stock trader, insurance broker, insurance broker, financial advisor, financial advisor, accountant, accountant, bank teller, bank teller, doctor, doctor, surgeon, surgeon, nurse, nurse, paramedic, paramedic, radiologist, radiologist, pharmacist, pharmacist, dentist, dentist, optometrist, optometrist, chiropodist, chiropodist, chiropractor, chiropractor, physiotherapist, physiotherapist, construction worker, construction worker, policewoman, policewoman, policeman, policeman, bus driver, bus driver, firefighter, firefighter, market trader, market trader, busker, busker, mailman, mailman, deliveryman, deliveryman, taxi driver, taxi driver. Farmer, farmer. Vet, vet. Gardener, gardener. Waiter, waiter. Waitress, waitress. Chef, chef. Hostess, hostess. In today's video, I am responding to a subscriber request. May Mustafa asked if I could make a video on crime vocabulary, and I am very happy to oblige. This is a huge and complex field of English, which will involve not one or two videos, but probably an entirely new playlist. So thank you, May Mustafa, for the suggestion. There will be lots more on this topic in future. In this video, I am focusing on different types of crime and some essential accompanying vocabulary. If you are affected by any of the issues discussed in the video, please reach out to a trusted person like a friend or doctor for advice and support. And just to note before we begin, definitions in this video are from the American judicial system, although they are commonly used in lots of different countries as well. Our first term is the crime of assault and battery. Let's break down these two different words to understand what this crime is. An assault is an attempt or threat to injure another person. And the word battery means the act of making contact with another person in a harmful or offensive manner. Let's take a look at our first example sentence. The police arrested him for assault and battery against his partner. Next up, let's take a look at this verb arrest. And this means to seize someone by legal authority and take them into custody. Our next term is the crime of aggravated assault. This is a more serious type of assault, and it is defined as an attempt to cause serious bodily harm to an individual with disregard for human life. Factors that raise an assault to the aggravated level typically include the use of a weapon, the status of the victim, the intent of the perpetrator, and the degree of injury caused. Let's take a look at an example sentence. He was arrested for an aggravated assault in the city centre last week. Our next term is another crime, aiding and abetting. These two words are synonyms of the word help. And the definition is a charge usually brought against someone who helps in the commission of a crime, though legal distinctions vary by state and country. A person charged with these crimes is usually not present when the crime itself is committed, but they have knowledge of the crime before or after the fact and may assist in its commission through advice, actions, or financial support. And we have a word to describe someone charged with this crime, an accessory. This describes someone who gives assistance to the perpetrator of a crime without taking part of it. Our example sentence is, they were arrested for being an accessory to the crime. Next up, we have the crime of arson. Let's take a look at the definition. Arson is defined as the willful and malicious burning or charring of property. And while the majority of arson crimes involve damage to buildings, arson can also be committed by a person who sets fire to forests, lands, or boats. And we have the term arsonist to describe a person who commits arson. Now, I'd like to take the time to have a look at the verb to commit. And in relation to a crime, it means to perpetrate or carry out something like a crime or even a sin. So you don't make or do a crime, you commit a crime. Let's take a look at some example sentences. She committed a crime. He has been arrested because he committed assault. They committed arson in the forest last summer. He committed an assault against his brother. Next up, we have the term bribery. Let's take a look at the definition. Bribery is the offer or acceptance of anything of value in exchange for influence on a government or public official or employee. Our example sentence is, he was arrested because he committed bribery. If this is your first time visiting my channel, Learning English Pro, you're very welcome. My name is Jer and I'm narrating your lesson today. If you're enjoying this lesson, make sure to hit the subscribe button and stay updated on all my latest videos. Let's get back to our crime vocabulary, and our next term is the crime burglary. Burglary is typically defined as the unlawful entry into almost any structure, not just a home or business, with the intent to commit any type of crime inside. Unlike robbery, which involves the use of force or fear to obtain another person's property, there is usually no victim present during a burglary. And we have the word burglar to describe a person who commits a burglary. Let's move on to our next term, which is the crime of cyberbullying. This crime refers to the use of internet and or mobile technology to harass, intimidate, or cause harm to another person. And we have the term cyberbully to describe a person who commits the crime of cyberbullying. Let's move on to our next term, which is the crime of disorderly conduct. Generally speaking, police often use a disorderly conduct charge to keep the peace when a person is behaving in a disruptive manner but presents no serious public danger. I want to take a look at this important word, charge. This word can be a verb or a noun, and in relation to crime, and in the verb form, it means to officially accuse someone of something, especially an offence under law. And the noun describes an accusation, typically one formally made against a prisoner brought to trial. Let's take a look at some example sentences. The police charged him with cyberbullying. The cops are charging politicians with bribery. They will charge her with committing a burglary. They charged the man with assault and battery. Let's take a look at some example sentences using charge as a noun. The charges against him are very serious. He received a charge of assault this morning. Another term which is related to this is the phrasal verb to press charges. And when you press charges, you do it against someone. So the police do not make or give charges, they press charges against someone. Let's take a look at some example sentences. The police have pressed charges against the singer. The victim would not press charges against the attacker. The police want to press charges against the woman. Okay, let's move on to our next term, which is the crime of domestic violence. This refers to violent or abusive acts committed by one family or household member against another. Domestic violence can refer to physical harm or behaviour that is controlling, coercive or threatening. It can occur in any kind of intimate relationship, married or unmarried, straight or gay, living together or simply dating. Hello and welcome back to Learning English Pro. We are continuing our exploration of English vocabulary relating to crime. Join me as I explore lots of new English words relating to types of crime, the court, and lots of associated language. If you're affected by any of the issues raised in today's video, make sure to talk to a trusted loved one or a professional like a doctor. Okay, let's get started, and our first term is fraud. Repeat after me. Fraud. Fraud is the wrongful or criminal deception intended to result in financial or personal gain. And one very common type of fraud is credit or debit card fraud. Let's take a look at the definition. Credit and debit card fraud is a form of identity theft that involves an unauthorized taking of another's credit card information for the purpose of charging purchases to the account or removing funds from it. This theft can occur physically when the actual credit and debit card is taken, or the theft can occur when just the numbers are stolen from an unprotected website or a card reader at a gas station. An example sentence would be, the gang were involved in credit card fraud. The gang were involved in credit card fraud. Our next word is the noun court. Repeat after me. Court. A court is any person or institution, often as a government institution, with the authority to adjudicate legal disputes between parties and carry out the administration of justice in civil, criminal, and administrative matters in accordance with the rule of law. The noun court can also describe the building or room where a court meets. We also have the noun judge, and a judge is a public officer appointed to decide cases in a law of court. You could also say that the judge is the head of the court. Our next term is the crime of criminal contempt of court. Repeat after me. Criminal contempt of court. This crime refers to behavior which disobeys, offends, or disrespects the authority or dignity of a court. It can occur directly in the presence of the court or indirectly when it happens outside the presence of the judge. Criminal contempt charges become separate charges from the underlying case. We have the phrasal verb to hold in contempt, which is used in relation to this crime. Let's take a look at some examples of it in use. A judge might say, I will hold you in contempt of court for your actions. Or we could say, John was held in contempt of court by the judge. Up next, we have another crime, disturbing the peace. Disturbing the peace, also known as breach of the peace, is a criminal offence that occurs when a person engages in some form of unruly public behaviour, such as fighting or causing excessively loud noise. An example sentence would be, he was arrested for disturbing the peace. He was arrested for disturbing the peace. Our next term is the crime of drug possession. It is a crime to willfully possess illegal controlled substances such as marijuana, methamphetamine, cocaine, LSD, club drugs, and heroin. These laws also criminalize the possession of chemicals used in drug cultivation and manufacturing, as well as certain accessories related to drug use. We also have the crime of drug trafficking. Drug trafficking is selling, transporting, or importing illegal drugs. Another name for this crime is drug distribution. When a state or federal government classifies a substance as controlled, it generally means that the use and distribution of the substance is governed by law. So, controlled substances is another word for illegal drugs or prescription drugs. Next up, we have the crime of driving under the influence. This is also commonly known as a DUI or drunk driving. Most states define crimes of driving under the influence as driving a motor vehicle on a road or highway while under the influence of alcohol or drugs. An example sentence would be, the actress has 2 DUI offences. The actress has 2 DUI offences. Up next, we have the crime of embezzlement. Repeat after me. Embezzlement. Let's take a look at the definition. The crime of embezzlement is where a person has lawful possession of the property of another, converts or takes that property for their own use, and has no intention of giving it back. This type of crime is most common in the employment and corporate fields. We also have the term embezzler. Repeat after me. Embezzler. This is a person who steals money despite being entrusted to take care of it. So if you commit the crime of embezzlement, you are an embezzler. Our next term is the crime of extortion. Repeat after me. Extortion. Extortion is the crime of obtaining money or property by threat to a victim's property or loved ones, intimidation, or false claim of a right. We also have the crime of cyber extortion. And unfortunately, this crime is on the rise in modern society. Cyber criminals use a tool known as ransomware to encrypt a user's important files and documents, making them unreadable until a ransom is paid. Next up, let's explore the difference between these two nouns, jail and prison, which are often confused. Jails are intended for short sentences and temporary confinement, while prisons are for felony sentencing longer than a year. Jails are usually much smaller than prisons and can be located within a police station. Prisons are usually huge complexes with many buildings. We also have the noun cell, which you can find in a jail or a prison. Cell. And the definition of this word is a small room in which a prisoner is kept confined in. And to be more specific, you can refer to it as a prison cell or a jail cell, depending on which location it is located. Let's also take a look at the noun prisoner. This word describes a person legally committed to prison as a punishment for a crime or while awaiting a trial. Let's take a look at some synonyms for this word. We have the word inmate or convict, and short for convict we have the word con. A more official word would be detainee, and a more casual or funny word would be a jailbird. And jailbird brings us to the end of our lesson. Let me know how you got on with this lesson in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And welcome back to Learning English Pro. In this video, we will be reviewing and learning more English vocabulary about the area of crime. Also, I have a trigger warning for you. I will be discussing some issues in this lesson which are related to violence. So if you're sensitive to these kind of issues, please bear that in mind. Okay, let's get started with our first term, which is the crime of forgery. Forgery. The crime of forgery generally refers to the making of a fake document, the modification of an existing document, or the unauthorized signing of a signature without authorization. Someone who commits the crime of forgery is known as a forger. This is defined as a person who produces fraudulent copies or imitations. We can use the word forgery along with fake or copy to describe a forged document, signature, banknote, or work of art. Let's move on to our next term, which is harassment. Repeat after me. Harassment. Harassment refers to a broad range of behaviours that are subject to both criminal punishment and civil liability. There is a wide variety of criminal laws forbidding harassment in many forms, including general harassment crimes, as well as specific forms of harassment, such as stalking and cyberstalking. A harasser is a person who causes repeated emotional pain, distress, or annoyance to another. Someone who is the victim of harassment may seek a restraining order. This is a temporary court order issued to prohibit an individual from carrying out a particular action, especially approaching or contacting a specified person. A type of harassment is stalking, which is a crime in itself. Stalking. Let's take a look at the definition. The crime of stalking can be simply described as the unwanted pursuit of another person. Examples of this type of behaviour include following a person, appearing at a person's home or place of business, making harassing phone calls, leaving written messages or objects, or vandalising a person's property. Someone who commits this crime is called a stalker, and we define this as someone who harasses or persecutes someone with unwanted and obsessive attention. Synonyms of stalker include prowler, peeping Tom, or intruder. Our next type of crime is called a hate crime. Repeat after me. Hate crime. A hate crime is the violence of intolerance and bigotry, intended to hurt and intimidate someone because of their race, ethnicity, national origin, religion, sexual orientation, or disability. This is also known as a bias crime, and it is a criminal offence where the purveyors of hate can use explosives, arson, weapons, vandalism, physical violence, and verbal threats of violence to instill fear in their victims, leaving them vulnerable to more attacks and feeling alienated, helpless, suspicious, and fearful. Our next crime is homicide. Repeat after me. Homicide. Homicide is the killing of one person by another, but not all homicides are crimes. However, all killings of humans are included in the homicide definition. Many homicides, such as murder and manslaughter, violate criminal laws. Others, such as killing committed in justified self-defense, are not criminal. Illegal killings range from manslaughter to murder, with multiple degrees of each, representing the gravity of the crime. Let's take a look at these in closer detail. There is first-degree murder. Repeat after me. First-degree murder. This is the most serious criminal homicide. Typically, first-degree murder is both intentional and premeditated. Premeditated means an action which is thought of and planned in advance. Premeditated in regards to murder can mean anything from a long-time plan to kill the victim to a shorter-term plan. The intent of the accused murderer does not need to be focused on the actual victim. If someone planned on killing one victim, but by accident killed someone else, the murder is still intentional and premeditated, meaning a first-degree murder charge. Next up, we have second-degree murder. Second-degree murder. When there is a lack of premeditation, but the killer intended to kill, the homicide may draw second-degree murder charges or perhaps voluntary manslaughter charges. So moving on, our next term is manslaughter. Repeat after me. Manslaughter. This generally means an illegal killing that falls short of murder. The lowest form of manslaughter is involuntary manslaughter. This means that the perpetrator didn't intend to kill anyone, but still killed the victim through behaviour that was either criminally negligent or reckless. In contrast, voluntary manslaughter usually means that the offender did not have a prior intent to kill, such as when the homicide occurs in the heat of passion and without forethought. And someone who commits a homicide is generally called a murderer. Synonyms of murderer include killer, slayer, and executioner. If this is the first time you're visiting my channel Learning English Pro, you're very welcome. My name is Jer and I'm narrating your lesson today. Make sure to subscribe and share this video with a friend. Let's get back to our vocabulary, and our next crime is identity theft. Repeat after me. Identity theft. Identity theft and identity fraud are terms used to refer to all types of crimes in which someone wrongfully obtains and uses another person's personal data in some way that involves fraud or deception, typically for economic gain. Someone who commits identity theft or any kind of fraud is generally known as a fraudster. Synonyms of fraudster include scammer, con artist, swindler, my favourite which is gouger, chiseler, and grifter. Our next crime is indecent exposure. Repeat after me. Indecent exposure. Indecent exposure laws in most states make it a crime to purposefully display one's genitals in public, causing others to be alarmed or offended. While the motive will vary from person to person, indecent exposure is often committed for the sexual gratification of the offender or to entice a sexual response. Our next term is insurance fraud. Insurance fraud. Insurance fraud occurs most often when an insured individual or entity makes a false or exaggerated insurance claim, seeking compensation for injuries or losses that weren't actually suffered. This type of crime can also be committed upon customers through the sale of unlicensed or bogus insurance coverage to unsuspecting clients, or an insurance broker or agent's theft of insurance premiums paid by clients. Police and prosecutors typically refer to a fraudulent insurance claim as either hard fraud or soft fraud. Hard fraud is when someone deliberately fakes an accident, injury, theft, arson, or other loss to collect money illegally from insurance companies. Soft fraud is when normal honest people often tell little white lies to their insurance company for the purposes of filing or maximizing a claim. Pro. In this video, we will be reviewing and learning more English vocabulary relating to crime. Okay, let's get started. Our first term is the crime of money laundering. Let's check out the definition. This is transferring money derived from any criminal activity like a bank robbery into seemingly legitimate channels like a bank account or investment. Money from a bank robbery is considered dirty money, so by putting it into a bank account, you are making the money clean again. Our next term is the crime of perjury. To commit perjury is to knowingly make misleading or false statements under oath or to sign a legal document you know to be false or misleading. This crime is taken very seriously because the foundation of the legal system depends on trust and credibility. If you commit this crime, you are called a perjurer. And we also have an idiom, to perjure oneself. To perjure is the verb form, so we could say, John perjured himself in court today. And moving right along, our next term is probation. The definition of probation is the release of an offender from detention, subject to a period of good behaviour under supervision. So that brings us to the crime of probation violation. This is an offence that occurs when you break the terms or conditions of your probation. Let's take a look at the reasons why someone might violate their probation. They might violate for not appearing during a scheduled court appearance on a set date and time, or for not reporting to your probation officer at the scheduled time or place. It could be for visiting certain people or places or travelling out of state without the permission of your probation officer. It could also be for possessing, using, or selling illegal drugs, or committing other crimes or offences, or getting arrested for another offence. So if you're on probation, good behaviour is essential. Our next term is the crime of public intoxication. This is also called public drunkenness, and it occurs when a person is visibly drunk or under the influence of drugs in public. Our next term is the crime of racketeering. This is when organised groups run illegal businesses known as rackets, or when an organised crime ring uses legitimate organisations to embezzle funds. A lot of rackets deal in industries that are clearly illegal, such as prostitution, sex trafficking, and drug trafficking. Our next term is the crime of rape. This generally refers to non-consensual sexual intercourse that is committed by physical force, threat of injury, or other duress. The victim's lack of consent is the crucial element. A lack of consent can include the victim's inability, due to the effects of drugs or alcohol, to say no. We also have the term rapist to describe someone who commits this act. There is also statutory rape. Let's check out the definition. This refers to sexual relations involving someone below the age of consent. People who are underage cannot legally consent to having sex, so any form of sexual activity with them violates the law. This is true even in situations where they signal their agreement. Rape and statutory rape fall under the umbrella term of sexual assault. The definition states that the term encompasses various actions that involve behaviour or contact toward another person without their consent or permission. Let's take a look at some of the actions that are covered under sexual assault. Fondling, kissing, or making unwanted bodily contact. Forcing another person to perform or receive oral sex. Forcing a body part onto or into another person's genitals. And included in sexual assault is forced masturbation. If you have been subjected to any of the issues covered so far in this video, please make sure to talk to someone that you trust and can offer you guidance and support. Okay, let's move on to our next term, which is the crime of robbery. Robbery is theft accomplished by violence or the threat of violence. Unlike a theft or a burglary, the crime of robbery almost always requires the presence of a victim who is threatened with bodily harm. On screen, you will see someone committing a crime. This is our next term, which is shoplifting. And this generally refers to the theft of merchandise from a store or place of business. But did you know that many states have enacted statutes specifically authorising stores and their employees to detain suspected shoplifters in certain circumstances? These laws serve to protect the stores from lawsuits claiming false imprisonment or false arrest. We also have the term shoplifter. The definition is a person who steals goods from a shop while pretending to be a customer. We also have some synonyms for shoplifting, like pilfering or pilferage. There's also purloining and filching. Let's move on to our next term, which is the crime of solicitation. The definition is the crime of solicitation is requesting, encouraging, or demanding someone to engage in criminal conduct with the intent to facilitate or contribute to the commission of that crime. Commonly, solicitation often is linked to prostitution, with the crime being the request of someone to engage in sex for money. Someone can still be guilty of solicitation even if their request is not accepted, or the subsequent crime simply never happens. And if you intentionally fail to pay taxes or underreport your taxable income, you could be charged with tax evasion. This is commonly charged against those suspected of certain organised crimes where the source of their income is in doubt. Let's move on to our next term, which is the crime of telemarketing fraud. This crime happens when some sort of fraud is committed through communication over the telephone. This can involve fraudulent selling to a victim or some type of scam to steal credit card or banking information or private data such as identity information. Let's roll on to our next term, which is the crime of vandalism. This is a broad category crime that's used to describe a variety of behaviours. Generally, it includes any willful behaviour aimed at destroying, altering or defacing property belonging to another. Types of vandalism include spray painting another's property with the purpose of defacing, or scratching paint off someone's car, breaking someone's windows, defacing public property with graffiti, slashing someone's tyres, altering or knocking down street signs, damaging someone's property in general, and it even includes throwing eggs at someone's house or car. We also have the term vandal to describe someone who commits vandalism. And that brings us to the end of our vocabulary lesson on crime. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know how you got on in the comments below. I love to hear from my subscribers. And of course, hey everyone, welcome back to Learning English Pro. In this video, we will be exploring English vocabulary associated with different types of industry. I will be teaching you terminology used in American English to describe and categorize different types of industries. Okay, if you're ready, let's jump straight into our lesson, and our first industry type is construction. This type of industry encompasses lots of different types of companies and people who are involved in construction. This can range to apartment and condominium construction, home builders, land development, indeed any type of company involved in the building and development of public buildings, homes, or any type of construction are included in this category, and that includes people like plumbers, painters, and carpenters. Our next industry category groups three different industries together, which are all quite similar: arts, entertainment, and recreation. This industry covers all the kind of fun things that we like to do in life, from amusement parks, bowling centres, golf courses, museums, and it also includes musical groups and artists, as well as performers and creative artists. Concerts and events by these types of artists are also covered in this industry. Gyms, health and fitness clubs also fall under this category. An industry which we all enjoy is accommodation and food services. This industry covers tourism and accommodation like a hotel, a hostel, or a bed and breakfast, and every type of food service you can imagine, from street vendors, food service contractors, caterers, restaurants, and coffee shops. Next up, we have the retail trade. Companies who work in the retail trade industry sell products directly to the public in relatively small quantities for use and consumption. And of course, this industry covers every type of shop or store you can imagine, from supermarkets to shoe shops, computer shops, and everything in between. An industry which is directly linked to the retail trade is the wholesale trade industry. Businesses which are included in the wholesale trade are those which sell goods in large quantities and at low prices, typically to be sold on by retailers for a profit. And all this stuff that we are buying and selling and moving around needs an entire industry of its own: transportation and warehousing. And this industry covers the transportation of people too, so we have companies such as airlines and airports, as well as trains and delivery drivers and trucks. Warehousing means the storage of goods. This can include warehouses, of course, but it can also include different companies that offer products such as tank and refrigeration trucking and storage. So it's quite a varied industry. The manufacturing industry covers businesses which make something on a large scale, typically with machinery. It includes a vast multitude of companies that produce every single type of item that's available to us today. A lot of these manufacturers will get their materials from the mining industry. Mining is the process or industry of obtaining coal or other minerals from the earth. Materials which are taken from the earth include gold and silver, coal, copper, oil, sand and stone. Another industry which is dependent on the earth is the agriculture, forestry, fishing and hunting industry. This industry covers any type of farming, like crop farming or animal farming, and fish farming. Forestry covers businesses which interact and use trees to produce timber and materials for building and furniture. Businesses involved in hunting typically provide wild animals for food. Let's move on to a very different type of industry: the real estate, rental and leasing industry. This type of industry includes any type of business involved in the selling or rental of homes. It also includes companies involved in any type of renting, such as commercial leasing or even car rental or costume rental. An industry which goes hand in hand with property is finance and insurance. This industry covers companies such as banks, insurance companies, commodity dealers, credit card issuers, and portfolio management. Any business which engages with money in relation to banking, investments, or anything like that is included in this category. Is administration, business support, and waste management. This group of industries is comprised of companies which support other services. These activities range from people like secretarial workers, people who clean offices, and other services like pest control, debt collection agencies, employment and recruitment agencies, and even security and waste disposal services. The next industry we will take a look at is called utilities. Utilities are essential services that play a vital role in economic and social development. Companies that are involved in the utilities industry supply things like water, electricity, natural gas, and provide sewage and sanitation. Although utilities are private for-profit companies, they are part of the public service landscape, providing as they do such staples for daily living. Our next industry is educational services. Educational services can be explained as the training or instructions given on different subjects. Institutions giving these services on different subjects can be training and coaching centres, colleges, schools, and universities. The next sector of industry we'll take a look at is the healthcare and social assistance industry. This is comprised of establishments providing healthcare and social assistance for individuals. The industry in this sector include physicians' offices, hospitals, medical laboratories, nursing homes, and youth and family service centres. Moving along to our next industry, which is called the Professional, Scientific and Technical Services industry. This comprises of companies and organizations which specialize in performing professional, scientific and technical activities for others. This industry includes professionals such as accountants, advertisers, architects, engineers, HR consultants, and lots of science-related jobs. These activities require a high degree of expertise and training. The information industry is comprised of companies and organizations that are information intensive in one way or the other. Typically, establishments are engaged in the following processes, such as producing and distributing information and cultural products, providing the means to transmit or distribute these products, as well as data or communications, and processing data. The final industry we will take a look at is defined as the other services sector. This comprises of companies and organizations which are engaged in providing services not specifically provided for elsewhere in the classification system. Establishments in this sector are primarily engaged in activities such as equipment and machinery repairing, activities such as providing dry cleaning and laundry services, personal care services, death care services, and pet care services. This sector also includes things like parking services and even dating services. So we could definitely call this sector a miscellaneous sector covering lots of things that are hard to squeeze into other classifications and industries. And that brings... Hi everyone, I hope you are doing well. In this video, we will be exploring the different American federal holidays that occur during a calendar year. You will learn their names and some background information about each holiday, like the origins of the holiday and what traditions are associated with them. So, what exactly is a federal public holiday? Federal holidays in the United States are calendar dates that are designated by the US government as holidays. On US federal holidays, non-essential federal government offices are closed and federal government employees are paid for the holiday. Although not required as a general rule, other institutions such as banks, businesses and schools and the stock market may be closed on federal holidays. So what are the names of these federal holidays? Let's take a look and start in January. And our first public holiday is on the very first day of January of the new year. It's New Year's Day. So what traditions are associated with this holiday? Festivities include a countdown to midnight on the night before, which is called New Year's Eve. It is really common to have a New Year's Eve party, typically with your friends and family. And it's widely known that the place to be on New Year's Eve is Times Square in New York. It is here that you will see the famous ball drop. This is a large decorated ball which drops down a pole, and when it hits the bottom it is midnight and the start of a new year. Another tradition associated with this holiday time is a kiss. You kiss the person you love at midnight. Our next federal holiday is also in January. It's called Martin Luther King Jr. Day. It falls on the third Monday in January, and it can also be referred to as MLK Day. The day, of course, honors the man of the same name. King was a prominent leader of the civil rights movement and a Nobel Peace Prize laureate who was known for his use of nonviolence and civil disobedience. King was fatally shot at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee on April 4th, 1968. And the first MLK Day was held on January the 20th, 1986. Moving on through the calendar year, next up it's February. The next federal holiday in the calendar is called Washington's Birthday, although it's better known as President's Day. And by Washington, we're referring to George Washington. He was the first president of the United States of America. This federal holiday is celebrated on the third Monday in February. It became a federal holiday in 1885. These days it is seen as a celebration of all presidents who have served for the United States. A food which is associated with the holiday is cherry pie. This is based on a legend of Washington in his youth chopping down a cherry tree. For the months of March and April, we have no federal holidays. We have to wait until May for the next one, which is Memorial Day. This federal holiday is celebrated on the last Monday in May. This federal holiday is a day for mourning US military personnel who have died in combat. Memorial Day has been celebrated since 1868. Many people visit cemeteries and memorials on Memorial Day to honor and mourn those who died while serving in the US military. Let's move on to our next federal holiday, which is in June and one which is also brand new. This new federal holiday is called Juneteenth. So what is it all about? This new federal holiday celebrates the emancipation of African Americans from slavery in the United States. The emancipation happened in 1863. The first Juneteenth will be held on June 19, 2022. This marks the date in 1865 when the US Army proclaimed freedom for enslaved people in Texas, which was the last state of Confederacy with institutional slavery. Juneteenth was made a federal holiday by President Joe Biden in 2021. Our next federal holiday is in July, and it's a quintessential American holiday. Independence Day, which is celebrated on the 4th of July. This federal public holiday is typically associated with big celebrations and parties across the country. This holiday commemorates the Declaration of Independence from 1776. And almost 100 years later, in 1870, Congress first made this day a federal holiday. So what do Americans get up to on Independence Day? They enjoy parades, fairs, along with carnivals and different types of ceremonies. And we can't forget the classic American barbecue, of sports like baseball, and of course fireworks. For our next public holiday, we'll have to skip the month of August and move directly on to September. It is in this month that we have Labor Day. Known as the unofficial end of summer, this holiday is celebrated on the first Monday in September. So what is Labor Day? It honors and recognizes the American labor movement. It also honors the works and contributions of laborers to the development and success of the United States of America. The weekend which is attached to this federal holiday is known as Labor Day weekend. This period in September is well known throughout the states for Labor Day sales in retail. Let's roll on to our next federal holiday, which is in the month of October. The name of this holiday is Columbus Day, and it's held on the second Monday in October. Columbus Day marks the anniversary of Christopher Columbus's arrival to the Americas on October 12th, 1492. Columbus Day and how it came about is associated with Italian Americans, and it became a federal holiday in 1937. Let's move on to November, where we have two federal public holidays. The first one on the calendar is Veterans Day. This is celebrated on November the 11th. It became a federal holiday in 1954. Veterans Day honors all veterans. A veteran is someone who has previously fought for the American Army. The next federal holiday, which is also in November, is Thanksgiving. This is celebrated on the fourth Thursday in November. It was made a national holiday by Congress in 1870. Traditionally, Thanksgiving is all about giving thanks and celebrating the harvest. A big part of Thanksgiving traditions is the family dinner. But Americans do like their parades, and Thanksgiving is known for them. Another activity is watching sports, and there's always a big game on Thanksgiving Day. Let's move on to our last month of the year, December, and our final public holiday, which is Christmas Day. Christmas Day falls on December 25th, and like Thanksgiving, it became a federal public holiday in 1870. It is associated with the Christian celebration of the birth of Christ. Although it's celebrated by lots of different religions and peoples, it's mainly associated these days with gift giving, along with the mythical figure of Santa Claus. And like Thanksgiving, the family dinner is a centerpiece of the tradition. Those who are religious typically attend church celebrations. Hey there, welcome back to Learning English Pro. Today we are diving into the fascinating world of artificial intelligence, or AI. If you're ready to boost your English vocabulary while learning about cutting-edge technology, you're in the right place. In this video, we'll explore essential AI terms that will help you navigate this exciting field. An algorithm is a step-by-step instructions or rules that a computer follows to perform a specific task. In the context of AI, algorithms play a crucial role in data processing, decision-making, and problem-solving. They're like recipes for computers, guiding them through various processes to achieve desired outcomes. Moving on to our second term, machine learning. Machine learning is a subset of AI that involves the use of algorithms and statistical models to enable computers to learn from data. Instead of being explicitly programmed, machines can improve their performance over time by identifying patterns and making predictions based on the information they've gathered. Term number 3 is neural networks. These are a fundamental concept in AI and machine learning. Neural networks are computational models inspired by the structure and functioning of the human brain. They consist of interconnected nodes or neurons that process and transmit information. Neural networks are crucial for tasks like image recognition and natural language processing. Natural language processing, often abbreviated as NLP, is a branch of AI that focuses on enabling computers to understand, interpret, and generate human language. NLP technologies are used in applications like chatbots, language translation, sentiment analysis, and text summarization. Now let's explore deep learning. This is a specialized subset of machine learning that involves complex neural networks with multiple layers. These deep neural networks can automatically learn to represent data in more abstract and hierarchical ways. This can lead to incredibly accurate results in tasks like image and speech recognition, as well as language generation. Our final term for today is data mining. This involves the process of discovering patterns, trends, and useful information from large sets of data. In the context of AI, data mining plays a crucial role in extracting insights that can be used to improve algorithms, make predictions, and enhance decision-making. And there you have it, 6 essential AI terms that will give you a solid foundation for understanding the fascinating world of artificial intelligence. Remember to Hello dear viewers, and welcome back to Learning English Pro. In this video, we'll be diving into the world of home office vocabulary. Whether you're new to this topic or simply want to expand your English vocabulary, stick around because I've got a comprehensive list of essential words and phrases to help you communicate effectively in your home workspace. So we're going to turn this boring room into a home office, and let's start with the basics. Your desk is the heart of your home office, and your chair is your trusty companion as you work. You might also have a comfortable chair mat to protect your floor. And don't forget the shelves for additional storage. Now let's talk about your computer setup. Your computer or laptop is your gateway to the digital world. The monitor is your screen. The keyboard and mouse are your tools for navigating. And a webcam for virtual meetings is a must these days. Keeping your home office organized is crucial. You'll need a filing cabinet for important documents. You'll also need folders for organizing, and stationery like paper, pens, and pencils. Don't forget the stapler for putting together those important reports. Make sure to stay connected with a phone for calls and messages, and a Wi-Fi router for internet access. You might also need headphones for private calls. And a calculator is great for quick calculations. Ensure good lighting with a desk lamp. Now it's time to think about the aesthetics of your home office. Let's add some plants. These are great to look at and help purify the air around you. And stay relaxed with some nice photographs and pictures. You can personalize the space more with art and stylish touches. Let's get back to a little bit of technology. A printer or scanner can be handy for paperwork. A whiteboard is great for important reminders. Keep your space tidy with a wastebasket or trash can for disposing of rubbish. And finally, the most important thing to add is you. And there you have it, a comprehensive list of home office vocabulary in English. This will help you to build and navigate your ideal home workspace. Don't forget to check. Hello and welcome back to Learning English Pro. My name is Jer, your online tutor and guide. In today's lesson, we are taking a tour of money and finance English vocabulary in a masterclass from Learning English Pro. In this lesson, you'll transform your English skills through a series of engaging and informative lessons on financial terminology and concepts. So whether you're starting out or looking to refine your expertise, this masterclass has something for everyone. In our first lesson, we're going to take a look at some basic money vocabulary. So get ready for lots of useful English learning and don't forget to subscribe. Money is at the center of almost every aspect of our lives. In English, we say, money makes the world go round. Another word for money you may hear is cash, and this usually refers to physical money. You might hear someone say, I have some cash in my pocket. Cash can also refer to small amounts of non-physical money. You could hear someone ask, can you transfer some cash to my bank account, please? Physical cash money comes in two different forms, coins and banknotes. However, becoming more common is credit cards and debit cards. We will take a look at debit cards later, but for now I want to focus on this important word, credit. The definition of credit is the ability of a customer to obtain goods or services before payment, based on the trust that payment will be made in the future. Another way to talk about credit is to say that it is money that you borrow and are usually charged interest on. But what is interest? Interest is the charge for the privilege of borrowing money. The amount of interest charged is usually called the interest rate. Something which you are commonly charged interest on is called a loan. A loan is a sum of money that is expected to be paid back with interest. Let's use some of these words in a sentence. We needed some credit, so we got a loan from the bank with a good interest rate. So what kind of loans can you take out from the bank? Let's have a little look at 3 types of loans you may commonly take out in your lifetime. When you need a loan to buy a house, we call this loan a mortgage. The T is silent. Mortgage. Another common loan is a student loan. And many people get a car loan to purchase a new car. When people have a lot of money, we have certain words we use to describe them, like wealthy or rich. Or you can say someone is very well off. When you have lots of money, you can buy lots of expensive things. And in English we say that the wealthy have comfortable lives. But we all need to ask, can money buy you happiness? If you don't have a lot of money, you might be described as poor or broke, or someone might say that you are badly off. People who don't have much money might have to live on a budget, and they may have stressful lives, which can affect health and well-being. Okay, let's move on and have a look at some new different words for money and how we may use them. A word I'm sure everyone around the world knows very well, tax. And this is the money that you pay to the government. And you pay it on goods, services, profits, and income. Our next word is donation. And this word describes money you give to charity. Next up we have two words, salary or wages. And these words mean money paid to you from your employer. It is usually paid weekly or monthly. And if you work hard, you may get a bonus. This is an additional payment from an employer for good performance. And in Western culture, it is quite common for your employer to give you a Christmas bonus. Let's move on and have a look at some words for money you may use when you're shopping. Our first word describes something you may find typically in a magazine or a newspaper. A coupon. A coupon is a token entitling the holder to a discount off a particular product. Something you can give as a present to someone is a voucher or a gift certificate. This usually comes as a piece of paper or an electronic card that entitles the holder to a cash discount, or it may be exchanged for goods or services. When you go to a restaurant and you have a nice experience with the serving staff, you can leave them a tip. This is a sum of money given to someone as a reward for a service. It is becoming more and more common to pay by card. We have already taken a look at credit, but let's have a look at a debit card and what that means. A debit card is a card allowing the holder to spend or use money directly from their personal bank account. When you use a card to pay for something, you might need to use your chip and pin. This is a way of paying for goods by debit or credit card, whereby one enters one's personal identification number into an electronic device. Another way which is becoming very common is tap and pay. This is a form of payment that allows a customer to tap a card or device against a card reader to pay instead of inserting a card. And by device we usually mean a phone or maybe even a watch. Can you believe that brings us to the end of our vocabulary lesson? Hello, I hope you're having a great day. You're very welcome to this English vocabulary lesson on banking. So if you're ready, sit back, relax, and let's learn some English together. The first word we will look at today is, of course, bank. It is a verb and a noun. but we will take a look at the noun definition first. A bank is a financial institution. It uses money deposited by customers for investment. It pays out money when required. It makes loans at interest, and it exchanges currency. Let's move on and take a look at the verb definition of bank. As a verb, it means to have an account at a particular bank. So you could say, she banks with the National Bank. Sometimes a bank will have more than one office or store. An office of a bank is called a branch. And the full definition of a branch is a division or an office of a large business or organization, operating locally or having a particular function. Let's use this word in a sentence example. The bank has a branch in the village. The bank has a branch in the village. When you open a bank account, you become a customer of the bank. Let's take a closer look at this term, bank account. The definition is a record or statement of financial deposits and expenditure. Let's look at some sentence examples. You could say, I need a bank account. But it is better English to say, I need to open a bank account. We use the verb open when we want to create or have a bank account. So when you go to the bank, you could say, hi, I would like to open a bank account, please. Let's take a look at the things you need to open a bank account. You will need official identification, like a passport or national ID. You will also need proof of address, like an electricity bill, and you will have to fill out an application form. Once you have completed your application and you get your bank account, one of the first things you will receive is a debit card. If you want to learn more about debit cards and different types of money, check out my money vocabulary video. The link is on screen now. One of the first places you will use your debit card is probably the ATM. Now, what does ATM mean? It is an acronym of Automated Teller Machine. At the ATM, you will also need your PIN. PIN is another acronym and it stands for Personal Identification Number. A verb, withdraw, which means to take money out of an account. So you could say, I withdraw about $80 a week from my account. Another way we can say this is by using the phrasal verb take out. I need to take out some money from the ATM. Let's move on to our next word, which is the opposite of withdrawal, lodgement. And this noun means the action of putting money into your bank account. Let's use it in a sentence example. Hello, I would like to make a lodgement, please. This is something that you can say at the desk in the bank. And of course, we have a verb for this action as well, lodge. And this verb describes, of course, the act of putting the money into your bank account. A sentence example is, I will lodge the money into my bank account tomorrow. We can also use a phrasal verb here, put into. I put some money into my account yesterday. Coming up next, I have a question for you. How much money do you have? To answer this question, you will need to know what the word balance means. In financial terms, this noun means the amount of money held in a bank account. So to know your balance, you could say, I should check my balance later. If you don't have very much money, you could say, my bank balance is very low. Or if you have lots of money, a nice way to say it is, my account balance is pretty healthy. There are so many banking terms that I couldn't fit them all into this video, so I've decided to make another video on banking terms. Our first banking term is credit transfer. And this is a direct payment of money from one bank account to another. Let's take a look at an example conversation. Can you send me the money by credit transfer? And the reply could be, I will transfer the money to your account straight away. Our next banking term also involves money leaving your account, direct debit. And the definition is an arrangement made with the bank that allows a third party to transfer money from a person's account on agreed dates, typically in order to pay bills. Let's take a look at an example sentence. I pay my phone bill by direct debit every month. One more time. I pay my phone bill by direct debit every month. Our next banking term is standing order, and this is an instruction to a bank by an account holder to make regular fixed payments to a particular person or organization. You could say, I organized a standing order with my bank to pay my rent every month. Next up, I have a question for you. What are bank charges? Not sure? Well, to make a profit and pay operating expenses, banks typically charge for the services they provide. Let's take a closer look at this word charge, which is a noun, and the definition is a price asked for goods or services. A sentence example is, I get a lot of bank charges on my account. Something you may receive a bank charge on is an overdraft. This is a shortfall in a bank account caused by drawing more money than the account holds. When you are low on money in your account, some banks will allow you to spend more money than you have. When you have a balance of less than zero, we call this a minus amount. A sentence example could be, I have an overdraft on my account at the moment. Or we could use the adjective overdrawn. I am overdrawn on my bank account at the moment. Something else you can say is, I paid off my overdraft last week. Here we are using the phrasal verb paid off. And in relation to banking, paid off means the act of giving a bank or a person all the money that you owe them. Something else you could pay off is a loan. A loan is a thing that is borrowed, especially a sum of money that is expected to be paid back with interest. A sentence example is, I got a loan from the bank so I could go on a dream vacation. We can also use the verb to borrow. I borrowed some money from the bank so I could go on vacation. With bank accounts, there are generally two different types, a savings account or a checking account. A checking account is what they call it in America, and in British English it is called a current account. Let's take a closer look at a savings account. The definition is a bank account where you save your money. You could also say that savings accounts are designed for earning interest on your money. Now, I've just mentioned three important words, savings, save, and interest. So let's take a closer look at save first, and we'll come back to the other two. Save is a verb, and it means to keep and store up something, especially money, for future use. In a sentence example, we could say, I save my money in my savings account every month. Let's move on to our next word, which is saving. This is the gerund or present participle tense of the verb save. As an example, we could say, I am saving my money. We also have a very similar word, which is a noun, savings. And this plural noun means the money one has saved, especially through a bank or official scheme. You could say, I keep my savings in my bank account. The next word we're going to look at is interest. So, what is interest? Let's take a look at the definition. Interest is money paid regularly at a particular rate for the use of money given as a loan or credit. There are two ways to think about interest. It is money the bank will charge you on a loan or on an overdraft. But it is also what we call the money the bank will pay you on savings and investments. So one person may say, my bank charged me a lot of interest on my overdraft, while another may say, I earn some money from the interest on my savings. Can you believe that brings us to the end of another vocabulary lesson? Welcome back to Learning English Pro. In this video, we are back with more financial English, this time with a focus on credit cards and an extensive and detailed English glossary on common terms and vocabulary associated with billing, interest rates, and using a credit card. So if you are ready, it's time to sit back, relax, and let's learn some English together. Our first term is card holder. Card holder. Let's take a look at the definition. A card holder is a person who has a credit card or debit card. Let's use it in an example sentence. I am a card holder and it is okay to charge my card for this purchase. Our next term is annual fee. Repeat after me. Annual fee. This is a once-yearly charge for having a credit card. Let's use this term in our example sentence. My annual fee for my credit card is now due. Up next, we have transaction fees. Transaction fees. The definition is a fee charged for using a credit card for certain types of transactions, like in an ATM. We could say, my bank does not charge me any transaction fees. Our next word is balance. Balance. And in relation to a credit card, a balance is the amount of money you owe on your credit card bill. It can change from month to month, depending on whether you pay your bill in full and on time. Our example sentence is, thankfully, the balance on my credit card is low at the moment. If you have a high balance on your credit card, you may want a balance transfer. Repeat after me. Balance transfer. This is a transfer of debt from one credit card to another, and you usually do this for a fee. Our example sentence is, I need a balance transfer to get my debt under control. Up next, we have the term credit limit. Repeat after me. Credit limit. This is the maximum amount of credit a borrower can use on a credit card. Exceeding the limit usually involves a penalty fee. We could say, I cannot buy those shoes because I have reached my credit limit. Our next term is interest rate, which we've already mentioned in this video. Interest rate. The definition is the charge for borrowing a sum of money, usually expressed as a percentage of the original loan charged annually. Remember, credit cards are a type of loan. An example sentence is, the interest rate on my bank's credit card is very good. One type of interest rate is the annual percentage rate, commonly known as the APR. APR. The definition is a calculation of the overall cost of your loan. It is expressed as an annual rate that represents the actual yearly cost of the funds borrowed. It takes into account all the costs during the term of the loan, including any setup charges and the interest rate. We could say, the APR on my credit card is incredibly high. I need a balance transfer to a new card to save money. We also have the term introductory APR. Introductory APR. And this is a lower interest rate offered on a new credit card, usually during the first 6 months. After the introductory period, the interest rate increases. An example sentence is, I was offered a very good introductory APR on this new credit card. We also have a type of interest rate called a fixed rate. Fixed rate. This is described as an interest rate that does not vary during the life of a loan. Let's take a look at our example sentence. The fixed rate of interest on my credit card will expire at the end of the month. Let's move on to our next term, which is prime rate. Prime rate. This is defined as the rate of interest that banks charge their most favoured customers, usually around 3%. My bank must think I am a good customer because they offered me the prime rate on a new credit card. Another type of interest rate is a variable rate. Variable rate. This is an interest rate that changes based on the moves of another rate index, usually the prime rate. We could say, my credit card comes with a variable rate. Our next English word is the verb to default. Default. The definition is the failure to pay a debt. Our example sentence is, I defaulted on my credit card payments, and now I am in some financial trouble. And you know, if you are experiencing difficulty with credit card debt, please seek advice from a professional and trusted debt advice organisation. Lots of governments around the world offer services to assist people in financial trouble. It can also be a good idea to talk to your bank. Our next term is default rate. Default rate. This is defined as a particular interest rate charged when a consumer defaults on a credit agreement, usually much higher than the normal rate. Our example sentence is, the default rate on my credit card is very high. Next up, we have minimum monthly payment. Minimum monthly payment. And this is the smallest amount of money a borrower can pay monthly towards their credit card, usually 2% of the balance. We could say, my minimum monthly payment is quite high. If this is the first time you're visiting my channel, Learning English Pro, you're very welcome. My name is Jer and I'm narrating your lesson today. Make sure to subscribe to get updated on all my latest videos. Our next term is late fee. Repeat after me. Late fee. And our definition is a fee charged for paying the minimum balance of a credit card after the due date. Our example sentence is, I forgot to pay my credit card bill and I got a late fee. Let's move on to our next term, which is grace period. Grace period. This is defined as a period of time when no interest is charged on a credit card. Our example sentence is, with my new credit card, I have a grace period of 6 months. Next up, we have billing cycle. Billing cycle. A billing cycle is the amount of time between the last statement closing date and the next. Billing cycles must be at least 21 days. We could say, the billing cycle for my credit card seems to come around very quickly. Next up, we have the term cash advance. Repeat after me. Cash advance. When you withdraw money from your credit card account, it is known as a cash advance. Card issuers typically limit the amount of money you can withdraw to a portion of your total credit limit and charge high interest rates and fees on the withdrawal, making cash advances costly. I used my credit card at the ATM and got a cash advance. And that brings us to the end of our lesson on credit card English vocabulary. In this video, you will learn about different types of insurance in English. Okay, it's time to begin our lesson. And first up, let's ask, what is insurance? Or how do we define insurance? We could say insurance is a way to protect oneself or an organization from financial loss. We could also say that insurance is a type of risk management. Insurance is generally provided by an insurance company or an insurance broker, and we could call either of these types of entities an insurer. One of the first types of insurance many people get is car insurance. This can also be called motor insurance. In American English, it can be referred to sometimes as vehicle insurance. Another common type of insurance is medical insurance. There are a few synonyms for medical insurance, like health insurance. It can simply be called healthcare or a health plan. Another popular type of medical insurance is dental insurance. Sometimes this will be covered under a healthcare plan. Okay, let's move on to a different type of insurance, home insurance. This may also be called property insurance. Home or property insurance generally covers costs relating to fire, theft, and costs incurred by weather damage. There are also many subtypes of property insurance, such as boiler insurance, earthquake insurance, flood insurance. There is also landlord insurance and renters insurance. And we have windstorm insurance, which covers damage from hurricanes and tornadoes. Another way to protect your home if you have a mortgage is mortgage protection. This type of insurance is designed to pay off your mortgage if you were to pass away. And some mortgage protection policies will cover mortgage payments if you become disabled or sick. A very important insurance for a lot of people is pet insurance. This type of insurance policy is purchased by pet owners to offset the overall cost of their animals' medical bills. Let's move on to a different type of insurance, income protection. Income protection insurance pays part of your lost income if you're unable to work because of disability caused by an illness or injury. A subtype of income protection is disability insurance or long-term disability insurance. Our next type of insurance is liability insurance. This term refers to an insurance product that provides an insured party with protection against claims resulting from injuries and damage to other people or property. A common type of liability insurance is public liability. This covers the cost of claims made by members of the public for incidents that occur in connection with business activities. Professional liability insurance is insurance that protects professionals such as accountants, lawyers, and physicians against negligence and other claims initiated by their clients. Up next, we have life insurance. This type of insurance generally provides an income to an insured person's family upon their death. Funds can be used for burial, funeral, and other final expenses. And that brings us to the end of this English lesson on types of insurance. Don't forget about Hello there, English learners. Welcome back to Learning English Pro. Today we're diving into an essential topic for anyone planning to rent in the USA. Renting a place can be exciting and sometimes a challenging experience, especially when it comes to understanding the terminology. In this video, we'll explore 15 key terms and words that will help you navigate the rental process with confidence. So let's get started, and first up we have the lease agreement. This is a legal document that outlines the terms and conditions of the rental arrangement between you and your landlord. It includes details such as the rent amount, lease duration, and the rules for the property. Next, we have the security deposit. This is a sum of money you pay upfront to the landlord as a security against any potential damages to the property. It's refundable at the end of your lease if the property is in good condition. When you're interested in a rental, you'll likely need to fill out a rental application. This form provides information about you, your income, and references, which helps the landlord assess your eligibility as a tenant. Utilities are essential services like water, electricity, and gas. It's important to clarify whether these are included in your rent or if you'll be responsible for paying for them separately. A tenant is the person who rents and occupies the property. That's you. Remember, as a tenant, you have rights and responsibilities outlined in the lease agreement. Your landlord is the property owner who is renting out the place to you. They're responsible for maintaining the property and addressing any issues that arise during your lease. The rent due date is the day each month when your rent payment is due. Make sure to pay on time to maintain a good relationship with your landlord. If something in your rental needs fixing, you can submit a maintenance request to your landlord, and they'll arrange for repairs to be made. Subletting is when a tenant rents out their rented space to another person. However, this usually requires permission from the landlord. Eviction is the legal process of removing a tenant from a property. It usually happens when a tenant doesn't follow the terms of the lease. When you move into a new place, it's wise to conduct a move-in inspection. This involves noting down any existing damages or issues in the property to avoid disputes later. As your lease term ends, you might have the option for a lease renewal. This allows you to extend your lease for another period, often with updated terms. Before bringing a furry friend along, check the pet policy. This outlines whether pets are allowed, any restrictions, and potential fees. The term amenities describes extra features or facilities that a rental property might offer, such as a gym, a pool, or a laundry room. Last but not least, consider getting renter's insurance. This coverage protects your personal belongings in case of theft, damage, or other unexpected events. So there you have it. These are some of the key terms and words that will be incredibly useful as you navigate the world of renting in the USA. Remember, these terms will help you communicate effectively with landlords and make informed decisions. English Pro. Today we're delving into the world of investments, where we will break down different types of investments and explore the relevant vocabulary associated with each. And let's begin with stock market investments. A stock market, in brief, is a centralized marketplace where stocks are bought and sold by investors. Stocks, also known as equities or shares, represent ownership in a corporation or company. When you own a stock, you essentially own a portion of that company. Companies issue stocks to raise capital for various purposes, such as expanding their operations, investing in new projects, or reducing debt. Dividends are payments made by a corporation to its shareholders out of its profits or retained earnings. These payments are typically distributed regularly, often on a quarterly basis, as a way for the company to share its financial success with its investors. And a portfolio is the collection of stocks and securities owned by an investor. Let's move on to bond investments, which are known for their stability. Here are some relevant terms. Bonds are debt securities. This is where an investor loans money to an entity in exchange for periodic interest payments and the return of the bond's face value at maturity. The coupon rate is the interest rate that a bond pays annually, and the maturity date is the date when a bond's principal is due to be repaid. Now let's take a look at a category that encompasses both stocks and bonds, securities. These are financial instruments representing ownership or financial interests in various entities. They play a crucial role in investment markets, offering a wide range of opportunities for investors. Real estate investments involve properties, where you buy properties in order to generate additional income or capital. The term real estate means land and any property attached to it. A common way to gain income from real estate investments is rental income. This is money earned by leasing or renting out your investment properties. Property management is an important aspect of real estate investment, and it relates to the administration, operation, and oversight of real estate properties on behalf of property owners or investors. It involves a wide range of responsibilities aimed at maintaining and maximizing the value of real estate assets. Let's move on to mutual funds. Mutual funds pool money from various investors to buy a diversified portfolio. Key terms include NAV or net asset value. This is the per share market value of a mutual fund. The expense ratio is the cost of managing a mutual fund expressed as a percentage of assets under management. In relation to investments, diversification means spreading investments across various assets to reduce your risk. Our fifth type of investment is commodities investment. Commodities are tangible goods that can be bought or sold. Here are some terms related to this type of investments. Which goods can we consider commodities? Well, commodities can be raw materials or primary agricultural products that can be bought and sold, such as gold, oil, wheat, art, wine, you name it. There are lots of different types of commodities in that market. An essential term of the commodities investments market is future contracts. These are agreements to buy or sell a commodity at a specified future date and price. And the spot price is the current market price for immediate delivery of a commodity. An investment type which is always a hot topic is cryptocurrency investments. These are digital or virtual currencies that use cryptography for security. Here are some essential terms. Bitcoin was the very first cryptocurrency, and it is the most well known, often referred to as digital gold. A crucial term for understanding cryptocurrency is the blockchain. This is a distributed ledger technology that underlies most cryptocurrencies. And if you have cryptocurrency, you're going to need a wallet. This is a digital tool for storing, sending, and receiving cryptocurrencies. Moving along to private equity investments. Private equity involves investing in privately held companies. And the investment management company that invests in private companies is known as a private equity firm. Venture capital is the funding provided to startup and small businesses in exchange for equity. And if you remember from earlier, an equity equals the share in the company. A leveraged buyout, or an LBO, is the acquisition of a company using significant amount of borrowed funds. Our final investment type is a hedge fund investment. Hedge funds are investment funds that employ various strategies to generate returns. Alpha is a measure of an investment's return relative to its risk. Short selling is the practice of selling borrowed assets with the hope of buying them back at a lower price. Our final term is high-frequency trading, or HFT. This is a trading strategy that uses advanced algorithms for rapid buying and selling of assets. And that concludes our exploration of investment vocabulary. Hello and welcome back to Learning English Pro. In this lesson, we're going to take a look at vocabulary and terminology relating to economics. You'll learn 15 fundamental economic terms that will help you grasp the complexities of the financial world. And our first term is supply and demand. These are fundamental forces that dictate the prices of goods and services in a market. Supply refers to the quantity available, while demand represents how much people want it. Prices rise when demand exceeds supply, and prices fall when supply exceeds demand. Let's move on to our next term. Inflation. Inflation is the increase in the general price level of goods and services over time, resulting in the loss of purchasing power for a currency. It's measured by the Consumer Price Index, or the CPI, which we'll get into later. The opposite of inflation is deflation. This is where prices decrease over time. It can lead to reduced consumer spending and economic stagnation. Gross Domestic Product, or GDP, measures the economic performance of a country. It's the total value of all goods and services produced within a nation's borders in a given time period. A related term is GDP per capita. This is the average income of a country's citizens and is calculated by dividing the GDP by the population. It reflects the standard of living in a nation. Let's move on to our next term, fiscal policy. This involves government actions concerning taxation and expenditure to influence the economy. Governments use fiscal policy to stabilize economic growth, control inflation, and reduce unemployment. Another type of policy you may hear about in economics is monetary policy. This is the management of the money supply and interest rates by a central bank. It plays a crucial role in controlling inflation and maintaining economic stability. A recession is a significant decline in economic activity, often marked by reduced consumer spending, business investments, and high unemployment rates. A budget deficit happens when a government spends more money than it collects in taxes. It's usually funded by borrowing, leading to national debt. A trade balance refers to the difference between a country's exports and imports. A trade surplus happens when a country exports more than it imports, while a trade deficit is the opposite. Let's move on to look at different types of economies. A market economy is where prices are determined by supply and demand, and private individuals and businesses make most of the economic decisions. A mixed economy combines elements of both free market capitalism and government intervention. Governments regulate certain industries and provide essential services. Our next term is opportunity cost. This is the value of the next best alternative that must be forgone when a decision is made to allocate resources to one option instead of another. The Consumer Price Index, or CPI, measures changes in the cost of a basket of goods and services over time. It's used to gauge inflation and cost of living adjustments. Our final term is entrepreneurship. This involves identifying business opportunities, organizing resources, and taking risks to create and operate successful enterprises. English Pro. Today we're diving into the world of stock market investments and expanding your financial vocabulary. So whether you're an aspiring investor or simply curious about stock market, this video is for you. Let's cover the basics. Stock markets are essential platforms where investors buy and sell ownership in companies. They help businesses raise capital, provide liquidity for investors, and set stock prices based on supply and demand. These markets offer diverse investment opportunities and act as economic indicators. Examples of stock exchanges include the New York Stock Exchange, the Nasdaq, the London Stock Exchange, and Tokyo Stock Exchange. Another fundamental term of stock market investments is shares, also known as stocks. These are units of ownership in a company. When you own shares of a company's stock, you own a portion of that company, and your ownership entitles you to a share of its profits and a say in certain corporate decisions. If you own shares or stocks in a company, you are known as a shareholder in that company. Dividends are payments made by a company to its shareholders as a reward for owning its stock. These payments come from the company's profits and are typically distributed regularly, providing shareholders with a portion of the company's earnings. Our next term is bull market. A bull market is a period in the financial markets characterized by rising stock prices, optimism amongst investors, and overall confidence in the economy. It's a time when investments tend to perform well, and there is a general belief that the upward trend will continue. The opposite of a bull market is a bear market. It's a period in the financial markets characterized by declining stock prices, pessimism amongst investors, and a lack of confidence in the economy. During a bear market, investments tend to not perform very well, and there is a belief that the downward trend will continue. Let's move on to portfolio. This is a collection of investments, such as stocks, bonds, and other assets, held by an individual or entity to achieve diversification and manage risk in their overall investment strategy. Portfolio diversification involves spreading your investments across different asset classes, such as stocks, bonds, and real estate, to reduce risk, as different types of investments may perform differently under various economic conditions, ultimately helping to achieve a more balanced and stable investment strategy. Stocks analysis is the process of evaluating stocks for investment, often using fundamental and technical analysis. Let's take a look at some of the ways stocks are valued. First up, we have the PE ratio. This is price to earnings ratio. This valuation metric is calculated by dividing a stock's price by its earnings per share. Another analysis metric is market capitalization. When you multiply the stock price by the number of shares, you get the total value of a company's outstanding shares of stock. Next up, we have some trading terminology. Blue chip stocks are stocks of large established companies with a history of stable performance. Day trading is the practice of buying and selling stocks within the same trading day. Let's move on to our next term, which is bid and ask prices. The bid price is the maximum price a buyer is willing to pay for a stock, while the ask price is the minimum price a seller is willing to accept. The difference between them is known as the bid-ask spread. The term volume refers to the total number of shares traded in a specific stock or the entire market within a given time frame. It can indicate the level of interest and liquidity in a stock. A market order is an instruction to buy or sell a stock immediately at the current market price. It guarantees execution, but may not guarantee a specific price. A limit order is an order to buy or sell a stock at a specific price or better. It ensures a specific price but does not guarantee execution if the market price doesn't reach the limit price. A stop-loss order is a predefined price level at which a stock is automatically sold to limit potential losses. It's a risk management tool used by traders. When it comes to the stock market, there are two different types of investors. A retail investor is an investor who buys and sells stocks for personal portfolios, while institutional investors are usually large organizations like mutual funds or pension funds that invest on behalf of others. And that wraps up our vocabulary lesson on the stock market. I hope you found it interesting. We've covered some essential terms to help you navigate this dynamic financial world with confidence. Today, we've got an essential vocabulary lesson on real estate. So if you're ready, let's dive in. Our first term for our real estate vocabulary is property. Property refers to physical assets such as land, buildings, and everything permanently attached to them. These can include residential homes, commercial spaces, and even undeveloped land. Understanding the concept of property is fundamental to navigating the real estate world. A mortgage is a financial arrangement where a lender provides you with the necessary funds to purchase a property and you repay this loan over time with interest. It's a significant part of the home buying process and involves understanding terms like interest rates, down payments, and loan duration. Next up, we have the term landlord or landlady. Landlady really isn't used that much anymore. Landlord is a common term that you can use for both genders. The landlord is the individual or entity who owns the property you are renting or leasing. They are responsible for maintaining the property and ensuring your compliance with the lease agreement. Knowing the rights and responsibilities of both landlords and tenants is crucial for a smooth renting experience. And let's check out this term tenant. As a tenant, you are the renter or occupant of a property owned by a landlord. Tenants pay rent to landlords in exchange for the use of the property. An important term in real estate is lease. A lease is a legally binding contract that outlines the terms and conditions of your tenancy. It specifies the duration of your stay, rent payments, and any rules or regulations you must follow while living in the rented property. Leases can vary in length and complexity, so it's important to thoroughly read and understand the terms before signing. Residential properties are real estate assets designed for living, such as houses, apartments, and condominiums, while commercial property refers to real estate specifically used for business or income-generating purposes. This category includes properties like office buildings, retail spaces, industrial facilities, and warehouses. Let's move on to investment property. These are real estate assets purchased with the intention of generating income or making a profit. These can include rental properties, commercial real estate, or properties bought for future resale. Knowledge of investment property strategies is essential for real estate investors and real estate agents. A real estate agent is a professional who assists individuals in buying or selling property. They have a deep knowledge of the local real estate market, and their expertise is invaluable when navigating the complexities of real estate transactions. An appraisal is a professional assessment of a property's value. It is often conducted when buying or refinancing a property. An appraisal is often carried out by a real estate agent. Let's move along to our next term, foreclosure. Foreclosures happen when a property is repossessed by the lender due to the borrower's failure to make mortgage payments. It is a legal process that can result in the property being sold at auction. We are working our way through the word list, but don't forget I have a wide range of videos covering different types of property investments available on my channel page, and I have some of them linked in the video description below. Make sure to check them out. Let's move on to the term equity. This is the difference between the current market value of a property and the outstanding balance of the mortgage. It represents the homeowner's ownership stake in the property and can increase over time as the mortgage is paid down and the property's value appreciates. Closing costs are the expenses associated with finalizing a real estate transaction. They include fees for services like title searches, appraisals, and legal services. Buyers and sellers need to be aware of these costs as they can significantly affect the overall cost of a real estate transaction. A title is a legal document that proves ownership of a property. It includes details about the property's history, any liens, and the current owner. Ensuring the title is in order is essential to avoid potential legal disputes when buying or selling real estate. In British English, a title would be called a deed. The down payment is the initial payment made by the buyer when purchasing a property. It's typically expressed as a percentage of the property's purchase price. Once the down payment is paid, the house or property is secured for the buyer. A home inspection is a thorough examination of a property's condition, usually conducted by a licensed inspector. It helps buyers identify any potential issues or needed repairs before finalizing a purchase. A quality home inspection can save buyers from unexpected costs and problems. Today we're diving into the world of mortgages and exploring some essential mortgage terms. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or simply looking to understand the process better, this video is for you. Our first term is the subject of our video, mortgage. A mortgage is a legal agreement between a borrower and a lender, typically a bank, that allows the borrower to obtain funds to purchase a home. The property itself serves as collateral for the loan, and the borrower makes regular payments including principal and interest until the loan is paid off. Next up, we have principal. The principal is the initial amount borrowed in a mortgage. It's the base amount on which interest is calculated. Over time, as you make payments, the principal balance decreases. Moving on to interest rates. This is the cost of borrowing money, expressed as a percentage. It determines how much you'll pay in interest over the life of your mortgage. Interest rates can be fixed or adjustable. A fixed-rate mortgage has a consistent interest rate throughout the life of the loan. It offers stability and predictable monthly payments. On the other hand, an adjustable rate mortgage or a variable rate mortgage has an interest rate that may change periodically. It often starts with a lower rate but can increase over time. The fixed rate period in an adjustable rate mortgage is the initial period during which the interest rate remains fixed before it begins to adjust periodically. Let's move on to down payment. The down payment is the initial amount paid by the home buyer when purchasing a property. It's typically a percentage of the home's purchase price, and a larger down payment often leads to more favorable mortgage terms. Our next term is amortization. It's the process of paying off your mortgage over time through regular payments, which include both principal and interest. Over the life of the loan, the proportion of principal and interest in each payment changes. Let's discuss escrow. An escrow account is set up to hold funds for property taxes and insurance. Part of your monthly mortgage payment goes into this account to ensure these expenses are paid when due. Next up, closing costs. These are fees and expenses associated with finalizing a mortgage and the purchase of a home. Closing costs include charges for services such as appraisal, title search, and legal fees. If you're interested in learning lots more related English vocabulary, check the links on screen and in my video description. On my channel, I have lots of English vocabulary videos relating to banking, finance, investments, real estate, and lots more. Let's get back to our lesson, and our next term is pre-approval. This is a crucial step in the home buying process. It is a preliminary assessment by the lender that determines how much you can borrow. This helps you understand your budget and increases your chances when buying a new home. PMI, or private mortgage insurance, is insurance that lenders require from borrowers who make a down payment of less than 20%. It protects the lender in case the borrower defaults on the loan. Refinance refers to the process of obtaining a new mortgage to replace an existing one. It's often done to secure a better interest rate or to change the terms of the loan. Our next term is equity. Your equity is the portion of your home's value that you own outright. It's the difference between the home's current market value and the outstanding balance on your mortgage. An appraisal is a professional assessment of a property's value. It's often required by lenders to ensure the property's worth is sufficient to cover the loan amount. Foreclosure is a legal process in which a lender takes possession of a property due to the borrower's failure to meet their mortgage obligations. It typically leads to the sale of the property to recover the loan amount. Our next term is closing disclosure. This is a document provided to the borrower at least 3 days before the mortgage closing. It outlines the final terms and costs of the loan, ensuring transparency in the transaction. Title insurance is a policy that protects the homeowner and the lender from financial loss due to disputes or defects in the property's title. It ensures that the property has a clear and marketable title. The mortgage origination fee is a charge imposed by the lender to cover the cost of processing and underwriting the loan. It's typically a percentage of the loan amount. A home equity line of credit is a type of loan that allows homeowners to borrow against the equity in their home. It provides a flexible source of funds that can be drawn upon as needed. Understanding these mortgage terms is crucial for making informed decisions when buying a home. In today's lesson, we'll be diving into a topic that's essential for many of us: buying a car. Whether you're a beginner or looking to enhance your English, this lesson will equip you with the necessary vocabulary and phrases for this important activity. Let's begin with some essential car buying vocabulary. Remember, you can always pause and rewind the video to practice these words and phrases. Let's look firstly at different types of cars which people commonly buy. This is a sedan. A sedan is a four-door passenger car with a trunk or boot that is separate from the passenger's compartment. Our next car type is an SUV. SUV stands for Sports Utility Vehicle. It refers to a type of car that sits high off the ground and which often has four-wheel drive and rugged styling. A convertible is a passenger car that can be driven with or without a roof in place. The methods of retracting and storing the roof vary among eras and manufacturers. A hatchback is a type of car with a rear door that swings upwards. This provides access to a cargo area in the main interior of the car rather than a separated trunk like a sedan. And next up we have a pickup truck, or simply known as a pickup. This is a light-duty truck that has an enclosed cabin, and it also has a back end made of a cargo bed that is enclosed by three low walls with no roof. Let's move on to take a look at some words relating to car parts. The heart of the car is the engine. This is the part that converts the energy of the fuel into mechanical energy and produces the power which makes the car move forward or backwards. In a car, a transmission or a gearbox acts as the medium that transmits power generated by the engine to the wheels via a mechanical system of gears and gear trains. A brake is the mechanical device in a car that stops motion by absorbing energy from a moving system. The steering wheel is the wheel that a driver rotates in order to steer or drive a car. The steering wheel is connected to the dashboard. The dashboard in a car is the panel facing the driver's seat where most of the instruments, switches, and information are. A car dashboard monitors vehicle speed, and engine temperature. A car's tires can be an important consideration when purchasing. This is the rubber covering placed round a wheel to form a soft contact with the road. This word has different spellings in American and British English, which you can see on screen right now. Let's move on and take a look at some of the documents you may need when thinking about getting a new car. The car registration is an important document which registers your ownership of the car with your local government authority. A car title includes official information about the vehicle and the owner. It differs from vehicle registration and proof of insurance as it's strictly proof of car ownership. Car insurance covers damage to your vehicle and protects you financially if you're liable for someone else's injuries or damages. It can also pay for medical bills if you or your passengers are injured in an accident or if you're hit by a driver who is uninsured or underinsured. A car loan is an agreement between you and a lender that says they will give you money to buy a car. In return, you'll pay them back with interest in an agreed upon period of time. If you're thinking of buying a car, the place that you go is called a car dealership. And the person that you buy the car from is called a car dealer. Different countries have different rules, but in lots of places you can buy a car second-hand. This is where it has been previously owned by someone else and they will sell it to you at a discounted price. This is usually done online or through local newspapers and advertisements. Wherever you go, you're going to need some handy English phrases to get your dream car. So let's take a look at some now. Something you would say to start the conversation with the car dealer is, "I'm in the market for a new car." Repeat the phrase after me. "I'm in the market for a new car." If you see a car that you like and you want to know how much it is, you would say, "What's the asking price?" What's the asking price? When you're buying a new car, you can get the permission of the car dealership to take it for a test drive. To do this, you would simply say, "Can I take it for a test drive, please?" Can I take it for a test drive, please? If you need a loan to purchase your car, you can ask the car dealership, "Do you offer financing?" Do you offer financing? Lots of new cars and sometimes second-hand cars will come with a guarantee. This means that if anything goes wrong with the car within a certain period of time, the car dealership will repair or replace the parts. If you want to check if your car comes with this, you could ask, "Is there a warranty?" Is there a warranty? So you see a car that you like and you want to know more about it. What could you ask the dealer? "Hi, I'm interested in the sedan over there. Can you tell me more about it?" Listen and repeat after me. "Hi, I'm interested in the sedan over there. Can you tell me more about it?" So you found the car that you like, but the price is a little high. If we want the car for a cheaper price, how may we approach this with the car dealer? We could say, "The price seems a bit high. Is there any room for negotiation?" The price seems a bit high. Is there any room for negotiation? Before we wrap up, here are some important tips when buying a car. Number 1, research. Always research the make and the model of the car you want. A budget is really important when coming to buying a car, so it's important to set a budget, a limit on what you want to spend, and stick to that. If you find a car that you really like, make sure to check its vehicle history. This is an important check on the car's history report. It can tell you things about the car that may change your mind about buying it. When it comes to buying a second-hand car, it's important to get an inspection. This is having a trusted mechanic check over the car to make sure everything is okay. To guarantee a smooth sale, ensure all the documents we've discussed in this lesson are in order. And that's it for today's lesson on buying a car and essential vocabulary and phrases. I hope you found it helpful. In this English lesson, we'll be taking a look at some intermediate banking terms. These terms are a little bit more advanced, but I will break them down for you in the following ways. For each of the 15 banking terms you'll learn today, we'll cover pronunciation, definitions, and example sentences. So with all of that business out of the way, let's begin our lesson on banking terms. Our first term is mortgage. Now this word has a silent T which I've highlighted in the word. Let's check our pronunciation. Mortgage. A mortgage is like a long-term loan, specifically for buying property. When you get a mortgage, the bank lends you the money to buy a house or apartment, and you agree to pay it back over many years, often 15 to 30. The property itself serves as security for the loan, which means if you can't make the payments, the bank could take the property back. Let's move on and take a look at our example sentence. After years of saving for a down payment, we're finally applying for a mortgage to buy our dream home. Our second term is equity. Repeat after me. Equity. Think of equity as your piece of a financial pie. For example, if you own a house, the equity is the part of the house's value that you actually own. It's the difference between the value of the property and what you still owe on any mortgages. Equity can also refer to ownership in a company through stocks. Let's move on and take a look at our example sentence. I've been paying the mortgage for 10 years, so I've built up considerable equity in my house. Our next term is collateral. Repeat after me. Collateral. Collateral is something valuable that you promise to give your lender if you can't pay back a loan. It's like saying, if I can't pay you back in cash, you can take this item instead. Common examples of collateral include houses, cars, or other valuable assets. It gives the lender assurance that they will recover their money one way or another. So let's take this word collateral and use it in an example sentence. To secure the loan for my business, I offered my vintage car as collateral. Our fourth banking term is asset management. Let's make sure we have the pronunciation perfect. Asset management. Asset management is all about a professional managing your money and investments. Think of an asset manager as a financial chef. They take your ingredients like savings, stocks, and bonds and cook up a plan to help your wealth grow over time, keeping in mind your financial goals and risk tolerance. Since I'm not an expert in stocks and bonds, I rely on asset management services to handle my investment portfolio. We'll cover this term portfolio later in the lesson. Let's move on to diversification. Repeat after me. Diversification. Let's try it one more time. Diversification. Diversification in banking is like not putting all your eggs in one basket. It's spreading your investments across different types of assets, stocks, bonds, real estate, etc., to reduce risk. If one investment performs poorly, others might do well and balance things out. Our example sentence is, my financial advisor suggested diversification of my investments to protect against market swings. Our sixth term is liability. Repeat after me. Liability. In banking, a liability is essentially any money you owe. This could be a loan, mortgage, or even money you've promised to pay in the future. It's an obligation you're legally required to fulfill. Understanding your liabilities is crucial for managing your financial health. Right now, paying off my credit card debt is my main financial liability. Our seventh banking term is credit rating. Repeat after me. Credit rating. Your credit rating is a score that tells lenders how good you are at paying back money you've borrowed. It's like a report card for your finances. A high credit rating means you're a low-risk borrower, which can help you get loans with better interest rates. On the other hand, a low credit rating can make borrowing more expensive or even impossible. Let's check out our example sentence. I'm working to improve my credit rating by paying bills on time and reducing my debt. Let's check out the pronunciation of our next term. Principal. Principal. In the context of banking, the principal is the original sum of money borrowed in a loan or the amount of the investment. It doesn't include the interest or additional fees. So when you start repaying a loan, part of your payments go towards reducing the principal and part go towards the interest. Over time, as I keep making payments on my car loan, the principal amount decreases. Our ninth term is annual percentage rate, often referred to as APR. So we have annual percentage rate or APR. APR is like the true cost of borrowing money, expressed as a yearly interest rate. It includes not just the interest rate, but also any additional fees or charges associated with the loan. So it's a more complete picture of what you'll actually pay. When comparing loan offers, I always check the APR to understand the full cost of borrowing. Another important banking term is compound interest. Repeat after me. Compound interest. Compound interest is when you earn interest not just on your initial investment or principal, but also on the interest that has been added to it over time. It's like your savings growing exponentially because the interest you earn each year also starts earning interest. Thanks to compound interest, my savings account balance has grown more than I had initially calculated. Let's move on to our next term, which is liquid assets. Repeat after me. Liquid assets. Liquid assets are things you own that can be quickly and easily turned into cash without losing value. This includes things like money in savings accounts or stocks that can be sold on short notice. They're called liquid because they can flow easily into cash. I always keep a portion of my investments in liquid assets for emergencies. Next up, we're going to look at two different types of interest rate. First up, we have fixed interest rate. Repeat after me. Fixed interest rate. A fixed interest rate means the interest rate on your loan or savings account won't change over a set period. It's predictable, like a fixed menu in a restaurant. You know exactly what you're getting and what it will cost you, with no surprises. Our example sentence is, I chose a loan with a fixed interest rate, so my monthly repayments will stay the same. The other type of interest rate is a variable interest rate. Repeat after me, variable interest rate. In contrast to the fixed interest rate, a variable interest rate can change over time based on the market or an index. It's a bit like the weather. Sometimes it's sunny, rates go down, and sometimes it's rainy, rates go up. This can affect your loan payments or savings earnings. My mortgage has a variable interest rate, so my payments might fluctuate over the years. Our penultimate banking term is bankruptcy. Let's check our pronunciation one more time. Bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is a legal process where people or businesses that can't pay their debts get a fresh start. The process involves legally declaring the inability to pay off debts. While it can relieve debt pressure, it also impacts credit ratings and the ability to borrow in the future. Let's use bankruptcy in an example sentence. The company filed for bankruptcy after failing to recover from its financial losses. Our final banking term is portfolio. Repeat after me. Portfolio. Your portfolio is the collection of all your investments, like stocks, bonds, real estate, etc. A well-diversified portfolio is key to managing risk and achieving your financial goals. Let's check out our final example sentence. My financial advisor helps me manage my investment portfolio to ensure it aligns with my long-term goals.